Test, 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 test. IG, YouTube. Peace. What's going on? What up, fam? We'll get started here shortly. We got YouTube. We got Facebook in the house. What up, Marcus? So I'm looking at two different screens. I got Instagram, I got YouTube, I got Facebook. Today I want to talk real quickly because I only got about 20 minutes because I have my REI 90 class here today. But I want to ask you, are you non-existent to the banks? Are you non-existent? Are you in a state of non-existence to the banks? Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Are you at a state of non-existent to the banks? Here's what I mean. See, I've been working with business owners, entrepreneurs, businessmen, businesswomen, people who are looking to start up, looking to scale, looking to grow, etc. And one of the biggest issues that I'm noticing that so many business owners are having is always capital. Okay, it's always capital. And as I'm speaking with them and knowing that capital is always their issue, when they go to the banks, a lot of the times they lack a digital footprint, even from a credit standpoint, which puts them at a state of what's called non-existence. And when you look up the definition of non-existence, let me read this definition. Fact or state of not existing or not being real or present. And so a lot of you, when you go to the banks, your business credit profile is in a state of non-existence, meaning they can't find anything about your business that would justify them giving you the amount of capital you want. And I'm not sure if you guys are hearing what's going on, but more and more banks are changing their lending guidelines. Like right now, Chase, they're cutting people, or they're capping them at $2,500 to $10,000. Truist, $25,000 to $5,000. Wells Fargo, $5,000 to $7,000. So now ask yourself, can you grow a business at the pace you want to grow it at when you are only getting approvals that's a few $1,000s, versus positioning yourself to be able to get $50,000, $100,000 like my client Tiffany, or my client Stacy, or my client who just got approved recently, Nairi Roberts. See, when you walk into the banks and you have a blank business credit profile, you are in a state of what they call non-existence. And I'll break that down in layman's terms. We call it a thin file. See, I know a lot of you really don't know this space enough. See, the reason trade lines on the personal credit got popularized, for those who've been in this space long enough, back in the day, we used to call it piggybacking. In 2007, 2006, 2005, when you would go to try to get a mortgage and you didn't have the equivalent amount of trade lines in order to qualify for a mortgage, pre the housing market crash, they wanted to see a certain amount of trade lines reporting. And so a realtor would send you to someone like myself, or they would have you to ask a relative or a friend or a coworker and say, hey, can you go and ask someone if you can piggyback off of their credit card? So this way you'll have the number of trade lines reporting so that you can qualify for a mortgage. Now, why did they have you do that strategy called piggybacking? So this way that your personal credit file was out of the state of non-existence so you can qualify for this mortgage. Okay, let me know if you guys are following me. So now it's always a head scratcher that people who are trying to get business funding will go to the bank and their business credit profile is in a state of non-existence, meaning you have nothing reporting on your business. So why would a bank give you $100,000 line of credit? Why would a bank give you a $50,000 line of credit when you're in a state of non-E or non-existence on the business credit side? Because you have what is called a thin credit file. See, the reason so many people fail just at life is because we don't use basic, common sense. It doesn't take critical thinking to be successful. Most of the time, it takes common sense. It doesn't take critical thinking to get out of circumstances. Sometimes it just takes plain old boring common sense. But because adults like to overcomplicate things, because we've been taught to be smart instead of intelligent. If you don't know the difference, go Google it. That's why adults overcomplicate life. And so going back to that scenario, imagine your 18-year-old self. You have nothing reporting on your credit, and you go and try to get that first credit card. And unfortunately, that first credit card is either Discover, Capital One, Credit One, First Premier, and you got a $500 limit. Why? Because your personal credit file was in non-existence. That's the exact same reason why you're not getting any good credit limits on the business. But let me tell you what you've been sold. You've been sold to go and get net 30 accounts, to get an 80 Paydex. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, and I will continue to offer this bet. I will continue to offer this wager, okay? As long as I'm breathing. Anyone who can bring me a credit application from Chase, from Wells Fargo, from Bank of America, from basically it has to be a financial credit card application. If anybody can bring me a business credit card application that asks for a DUNS number, I will cash app you $200 right now. If anybody can bring me a business credit card application that asks for a DUNS number, I'll cash app you $200 right now. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because so many people will go out there and waste their money getting net 30 accounts when banks don't even ask for a DUNS number. They don't care. And so what I'm trying to do is you won't fix one. I'm not sure what you mean by that, family. So what I'm trying to do is that you won't find one. Okay. Yeah, you won't find one. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you out of non-E or non-existence in relations to being able to go to the bank and be able to get legitimate credit lines in order for you to be able to actually have enough capital to run your business or buy some real estate. You have to get out of non-existence. And I'm going to give you the strategy here today. Only got about another 15 minutes before I get on my REI 90 call. And so 10 things that you have to understand. One, you have what's called a thin business credit profile. This is what I want everybody to do. I don't ever want you to take my word for it. I want you to go and do your own investigation. Okay. Go to Experian Business. Go to Equifax Business. Okay. Or you can go to nav.com, whatever you choose to do. But I prefer you go directly to the source and pull your business credit reports. They're blank. Why would a bank give you $100,000? Why? Under your business now. Just because you bought some ink pens, some gloves, and garbage bags, no bank is giving you $100,000. I'm sorry. They lied to you. You have what's called a thin file. I'm going to teach you how to strengthen the thin file. But right now you need to understand where you're at. Okay. Number two, why does this hurt you? This hurts you because you don't have what are called comparable trade lines. I'm going to keep talking about the same thing because clearly a lot of people don't understand this. I had somebody trying to debate me about, I'm going to build up my paydex score and go, and like they were just talking to a bot they were talking to my DM bot because I clearly was not responding. And so having a thin business credit profile is hurting you because now, and let me tell you why it hurts you. Because now when you go to Chase, now when you go to Wells Fargo, now when you go to US Bank, you've wasted your 0% interest approval. Here's what I mean. Because you're not willing to do the right and necessary steps to strengthen your business credit profile, so you decide to go to Chase anyway, and now you're going to apply for a business credit card, and you're going to get a 0% interest with a $5,000 limit. You've now squandered your 0% interest with a $5,000 limit when we could have got you a $50,000 limit at 0% interest. Think about that. So having a thin business credit profile hurts you because now you've cost yourself your 0% interest opportunity with the banks. Unless you're going to get reincarnated, you're not going to get that 0% interest again because they go per social security number, not EIN number. And so now this is why so many people are in a position and why the money is too expensive, because they don't know this right here. See, when you strengthen your business credit profile, your funding options open up. Your funding options open up. I can assure you right now that most people watching this live, or most people who have attempted to get funding, I can almost assure you that most people do not have more than $40,000 in business funding. And they've been on this journey for at least 6 years. I'm willing to almost put up $1,000 that most people do not have over 40 something thousand dollars in funding. Business on the business side. Why? Because they don't have all of the data points. They're too focused on building a fictitious score or a paydex score that no bank will ask them for that number. You're in non-existence. Your business credit profile is in non-existence. Let me read what non-existence mean again. Fact or state of not existing. So to the banks, you don't exist as a business. You damn sure don't have any tax returns because your business hasn't made any money. So ask yourself, how is Will Roundtree and We Management able to get people $160,000 from one bank and the business is brand new? How? Because we take them out of what is called non-existence and put them in a state of existence. So now when they walk into the banks can see the comparable trades. The banks can see the financial digital footprint. The banks can see what their web score is. The banks can see all of the data points, and they don't care about the paydex score. I'm going to tell you how to get out of the non-existence, but I really need to lay this foundation first because it's fascinating how a person would have the information and would do the complete opposite, thinking they should get the results of someone who has the information. That is called a lack of competence. See, when you're in a state of unconscious incompetent, essentially that means you are in a state of ignorance. But when you're in a state of conscious incompetence, meaning that you know that you don't know, meaning you know what you're supposed to do, but you still don't do it, that's a state of conscious incompetence. And the reason so many people get the results in their life is because they're in a state of conscious incompetence. I'll give you an example. I remember when I first started my journey in the gym, when I thought I was taking it serious. And I was eating about 4,000 calories a day. My diet was all bad, okay? And I would literally leave the gym and go to Popeyes. I would leave the gym and go to Carl's Jr. I would literally leave the gym after my workout in 2010 and go and get a 4-piece with an extra fry in a supersized drink. I knew it was bad for me, but I was like, I gotta eat. Wayne said Carl's Jr. not that bad. Not when you get in the big burger and 2 orders of curly fries in the largest drink. Okay. And so I would go to the gym, work out for an hour, probably was doing it all wrong anyway. And then I would leave there and then go eat another 2,000 calories on the way home and then eat a snack at night. This is how a lot of people are running their business. They will literally start an LLC, make no money, credit be halfway decent, and then walk in the bank with their hardest bottom shoes on and ask the banker for a business loan. When he said just do cocaine after the gym. Hey, y'all need to follow my bro Wayne's page. His stories are like the funniest. And so people will literally set up an LLC, go to the bank with their hardest bottom shoes on and ask for $100,000. Even though their business is in non-existence, they haven't filed no tax returns. Their credit is barely hanging on at a 693. They still got late payments because they in a hurry to get rich. They don't have a real business plan. And if a customer smacked them in the face, they don't even have the systems on the back end to fulfill the customer. Why? Because they're in non-existence. And so let's put you in a position of existence when you go to the banks so you can be like Katina Street, who's gotten over $200 and something thousand in funding and buying real estate and all of these things because we've eliminated the guesswork for her. Imagine having a blueprint. And as I often say, this is why people buy franchises, because you don't have to think. You just got to follow the manuscript that Ray Kroc put in place for somebody to run the McDonald's. When you buy a Wingstop, they tell you what marketing campaign you need to do. When you buy a Wingstop, they tell you the ingredients for the sauce. You can't imagine buying a McDonald's, okay, and you want to use Whopper sauce instead of Big Macs. Imagine buying a McDonald's and you have your own recipe for the burger you want to sell, even though your burger may taste better. But here's the reality, ladies and gentlemen. A successful business is not about having a perfect product. A successful business is about having a perfect system. And so the reason my clients get results is because we've perfected the system. We've perfected the system. And so you're still going in with your chest out, talking about you got an 83 paydex, and the banks don't look at that. Why? You're more concerned about the aesthetics versus the system that puts you in the game to be able to get the desired result you want. That's how you get out of the state of non-existence when you walk into the banks. So how do you do that? Let me tell you real quick, because I got about 5 minutes because I have to get ready for my real estate class that I'm teaching tonight. Okay, so I'm going to keep this very simple and I'm going to make this extremely brief, okay? Because I already know 97% of the people not going to do it anyway, okay? 97% of people. Did you know statistically, in anything in life that requires effort, only 3% of people do it. Let me say that again. In life, with anything that requires effort, meaning if I told someone, if you ride your bike for 3 miles every single day, you'll have $1 million. And do you know 97% of the people still won't do that? Why? Because it requires effort. And like Wayne said, that's why there's no competition amongst successors. There's very little competition. Let me give you another example, and then I'm going to tell you how to get out of non-existence. Did you know that when you think about traveling in first class, the reason it's very little room because they understand most people aren't willing to pay for the extra space. That's the exact same way that life works. People aren't willing to pay the cost of admission to be comfortable. Now we'll pay for distractions. Like my brother Wayne's, people will pay for cocaine before they pay for information to fix their life. People will pay for cocaine before they go get a trainer. People will pay to get net 30s on their account versus paying to learn how to get out of non-existence with the banks. So let me just tell you how to get out of non-existence real quick because I got about 3 minutes. All right. So how do you get out of non-existence? You have to put comparable trades on the business credit reports that the banks are looking at. Banks only look at Experian business. Banks only look at Equifax business, which helps you to generate a FICO SBSS score. You want to write this down, okay? A short pencil is better than a long memory, all right? And I know people be hopping on and hopping on. When they hear that I'm not talking about a Navy Federal play, they click off real quick. I don't even want to work with them people. I only want to work with people who really want to position themselves to win and win at a high level. This is why I've been winning for the past 15 years, okay? This is why I've been winning for the past 15 years because I know how to position myself to not be in non-E or non-existence. And so when you're going into the bank is only looking at the business credit profile. They're only looking at what's called your FICO SBSS score, which is generated by having a score or having comparable trades on Experian business and Equifax business. Now, the quickest way of doing so, just like how you piggyback and build your personal credit when you're going to trade line supply, when you're going to buy all of these trade lines on the personal side, you can do that on the business. Except these are what are called primary accounts that stay on the business for the life of the company or as long as the business is actually active. And so what I'm doing we're in July. I'm showing people how to skip the line to get out of non-existence by adding what is FICO. FICO is the scoring model that banks actually utilize. Okay, Fair Isaac Corporation, whatever. So here's what happens. Banks only pull Experian. 90% of banks pull Experian business. To get a business line of credit, you need a FICO SBSS score of a 180 or better on a scale of 130 to 300. And so with that being said, when you add, NAV is trash, okay? NAV is the equivalent of Credit Karma. Now, NAV, I would rather you have NAV than nothing when you're looking at your profile, but NAV Prime for business credit reporting, it's trash. It's the equivalent of adding what is that called? Experian Boost. Experian Boost does not help your score, ladies and gentlemen. It optically it does, but it doesn't help your credit profile. Let me give you an example real quick. So when you add Experian Boost, and I want y'all to test this theory. For those who've ever added Experian Boost to their credit, first of all, it only reports on Experian. Secondly, it reports the balance. And so because it reports only the balance, what it does is it actually impacts your debt to income ratio. So imagine if you add your utility bill, your insurance, your car note, your Netflix, your direct TV. Let's say you add 7 accounts on your credit And those amounts add up to an additional $2,500. That's $2,500 of debt that has now been added to your debt to income ratio, which is one of those data points that the banks or the underwriter calculates to see how much discretionary income that you have in order to qualify for the money you want. That's why some of you can't qualify for the auto loan you want, because you're adding your cell phone bill on there and it's throwing your debt to income ratio off. And so we have to understand first, what are the actual data points that banks are looking at on the business side? They don't care about duns. And so what we do, or what I personally do, it's only a handful of us that can do this because we've been in the industry long enough and actually know this information. In that funneling money and putting it in your bank account and letting it season in go to the bank, that strategy is old, it's trash. Okay, banks look at comparable trade lines. So what we do is we add, write this down, we add $30,000 on your Experian business, and we add $50,000 on your Equifax business. Okay. And once it posts, it stays on the business forever, or as long as it's active. So now when you go to the bank, they're going to see an active account that's reporting a new high limit or a new comparable trade in order for you to be able to get stronger approvals. But let me tell you the other outdated strategy that people are doing that does not help. People will say, oh, let me put an auto loan on your business. Now, let me ask you a question. Why would you put a closed account on your company? Why would you put a closed account on your business, or even on your personal report? Let me tell you why that does not help you. Because the only way the algorithm of how a credit score calculates is based off of open accounts. And so by understanding that there's only two forms of credit, you have revolving and you have installment. So when you have a closed auto that you paid somebody for, report on your credit report, that account has zero impact on your credit score. Why? Because it's closed. And so when the account is closed, it doesn't calculate the data of what it takes to calculate your score, because the only thing that an installment account calculates for is payment history, which is 35% of your score. So if you put a closed account on your credit, how can it calculate payment history? It can't. And so when we add these comparable trades on your business, these accounts are open. It's showing a high limit of 50K. It's showing a high limit of 30K. What if you want to add 100,000 on there? I can add 100,000 on your Experian business and 275,000 on your Equifax business. So now imagine being able to walk into the bank and applying and getting a line of credit like my client Katina or Greg Mejia, who got 125,000 from one bank. That's the only way you get out of non-existence. Look, I'm going to be showing all of these strategies. I want you to go to and register for my free webinar that I'm hosting this coming up Thursday. You can go to roundtreemasterclass.com, roundtreemasterclass.com. I'm going to be showing all of these strategies. Or if you feel you're in position and you want to skip the line and get funded today, look, we just had over 265,000 in funding approvals today alone. We're going to fund close to $1 million this week. Why? Because while banks are telling y'all no, we have the relationships and we know the data points to get out of non-existence so that the banks can tell you yes. And I'm going to leave you with this. This is how I know a lot of you have nowhere else to go to get this data, because you've been on this journey for 6 years and you still got the same $40,000 in funding. You've been on this journey for 7 years and you still have the same amount of funding that you got in 2019. If you don't get yourself out of non-existence, you will continue to get the lackluster results, and banks are continuously changing their guidelines. Because here's another thing I'll tell people. Y'all better get positioned. I'm telling you, get positioned, because the opportunities that's coming down the pike, only a few people gonna win. And just like I say, typically when it comes down to anything that people have to participate in order to change their circumstance, whether it's health, wealth, whatever, only 3% will actually win, because the other 97%, they're scared of effort. People not scared. People will have one night stands raw, but they're scared of effort. Come on, y'all. We got to do better. Look, y'all go join my free webinar that's coming up Thursday. Go to roundtreemasterclass.com. I'll see y'all there this Thursday. Or if you want to skip the line, DM me, help. I have somebody from my team reach out to y'all, get y'all going. Let's get y'all out of non-existence. And look, I come with real scenarios because I already know why so many people are stuck in life. It's time to get out of non-E. So for those who are inside my REI 90, I'll see y'all on the live. I have a very powerful guest, real estate investor who's coming on, who has over 30 years of real estate experience. And we're going to be talking about a 64 unit building that we're about to take down with little to no money out of our pocket. So meet me on my REI 90 live stream. Appreciate everybody who jumped on Instagram. Thank y'all, everybody who's brand new. I got to move my business out of California. Too expensive. No, that's not true. And if you got good credit already and you're in California, reach out to me. I can get you up to 125 from one bank, just like I did Katina Street. So I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all on REI 90. Peace.